Today is what we call Armistice Day, as it was called post World War One, where we spent the day honoring those that served in the First World War. Later, after World War II, it became Veterans Day, a day that we recognize everyone that served this great country. It also became a very special day in Canada Day, November 11th at 11 o'clock at 11 a.m. They take a moment of silence, and normally British or Commonwealth recognize the holiday by wearing a poppy. I remember my late mother always every year donating money and getting a new poppy, and she would cover over years and years every single jacket that she would wear the pretty much the week before this day with a poppy. And I think today the world has just gone bananas. Let's see about that. Welcome, everybody. This is the Rant Network. That's my co host, David Solomon, wearing a collared shirt, where we're bringing you unfiltered, uncensored conversation on a wide range of topics like this poppies, Veterans Day. Our podcast is dedicated on giving a platform, expressing opinion, thoughts, ideas, experiences from every perspective known to man. We normally call that a variety. And it's definitely what we call an honest opinion. We're going to dive into this issue as we do news, pop culture, politics, and so much more. From rants of absurdity of modern life to discussions about deeper issues like this one that David's going to roll out into. So sit back, relax, and join us on this discovery, this Veterans Day, November 11th, 2024. David.
Americans call it Veterans Day, and as you said so appropriately, Stuart, we in Canada refer to it as Remembrance Day. It's a day that we should not remember only once a year. But unfortunately, into modern age today, this day is viewed like all other days. It's taken for granted. Now, listen, I'm born and raised in Canada. I know you were born in the United States, Stuart. And our freedoms, our opportunities would not be here if it had not been for the sacrifices made by the generations before us. World War I, listen, as Canadians, we went into the war well before the Americans did. We lost incredible amount of people to fight a stupid war. Not that any war is really smart, but there was a stupid war. But World War II was really the catalyst of where we are today. World War II was literally the fight between freedom and an autocratic rule. Let me remind everybody, World War II, simply put, starting September 1st, 1939, when Germany officially invaded Poland, the world went to war. The U.S. took 2 more years to join, but Canadians, French, you name it, the sacrifices, the death to preserve freedom. The idea back then for Adolf Hitler, for Mussolini, Japan, and the rest was to take away democracy, take away our freedoms. Millions perished. Millions and millions perished in that war. Civilians, soldiers, you name it. And what came out of it was a Cold War, Stuart. You know it. Right after that, we continued that. But had it not been for the United States and our allies coming in, where would we be today? Where would we be today? 85 years after the start of World War II, we have generations of people who've no idea what war is all about. Look in the university, Stuart. September 11th, 2001. They don't even remember, and we mentioned this in a previous rant. We've got generations of kids who have no idea what threat was all about. You and I have talked about, the threat of the Cold War when we were kids. We've talked about all these things, and we knew back then, even then, there was always this chance the Soviets would fire and we would be perished. The sacrifices made by these soldiers, veterans, you name it, we don't honor them enough. The World War I veterans, they're no longer alive, unfortunately. And the World War II veterans, few and far are alive. So it just shows you that we can't even, their stories, their sacrifices are only going to be anecdotal in history books. Generations continue to take for granted what they have today. And when you see since October 7th, 2023, the statements made by Americans, Canadians, Westerners, You have to ask yourself, why are you not understanding why this sacrifice is what were made? We're so critical. Would you like to live in a place where, by the way, Stuart, I don't know if you heard, the age of consent now in Iraq for girls is 9 years old. Could you imagine that? 9 years old. You want to live in a society like that with that kind of rule? Or how about would you like to live in an area where if you are not of a certain religion, you'd be slaughtered? How would you like to live in a state where whenever you talk, about the government negatively, i.e. Russia, somehow you disappear. You're poisoned. You're eliminated. Is this what you want to live in? Because the people before you, the generations of veterans before you who sacrificed their lives, give you the opportunity to make choices. They did that for you. They gave you the opportunity to become anything you want, to do almost whatever you want, to say almost whatever you want. And you're taking that for granted. And I'm sitting here in a very lecture-like condemnation, Stuart, and it saddens me. I'm not going to get into the story behind the poppy and where it came from Flanders Field and what have you. But this is the memory. This is the symbol that we carry with us outside of the US to remind people. And it bothers me that when I see veterans of wars standing there, older people, and asking for help, it's just whatever you want. And young people walking away say, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in hearing your sacrifice. I'm not interested in hearing what you did for me. I'm just going to take it for granted. Stuart, that sickens me. And I'm sorry to say that on a day like today, we should honor those. We should remember them, and lest we forget. Stuart, we can't hear you.
Kidding me. Again, can you hear me?
We hear you.
All right, let me switch audios. Now, can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Okay. I took this picture in 1987 on the front lawn of 84 Woodlawn Drive. And the reason why I put it up is because that picture I entered into contest after contest because it actually is a black and white and a painted poppy, which back in the day of before there was video editing, that was taken with a Minolta camera and film. And again, that was a poppy that I pilfed off of my mother's jacket. So I had one too. And I'm sorry for bringing it up, but it was a memory that was clearly in my Facebook because I've loaded it many, many, many times. I am perplexed why there are private schools that have school today. I'm perplexed why there are businesses that are open today. And it bothers me to no end that there's not enough thanks for where we have gotten and how we have gotten here. And I don't believe that the school system to date has done these kids, these young adults, right. You're right. Your kids probably barely remember September 11th. My kids definitely don't remember September 11th. And they are not learning about it in school enough. And I don't think there are enough veterans welcome in schools today that there should be every single week of Remembrance Day. And it is Remembrance Day, David, and I apologize just calling it Veterans Day, I guess, for the years in the United States. But it was Armistice Day before it was Remembrance Day. And everyone around the world celebrated or acknowledged this day. I can only wish for those that have served and those families that have given the greatest sacrifice of all, someone they love, so that you can be a woke, stupid idiot, so that you can be free to say what you want, do what you want in a country that allows you to do so. And as David, as you so nicely pointed out, that 9-year-olds are now the age of majority in some countries. That is absolutely insane. You know, with the current president, the left is going on its head, saying how Biden should step down and appoint Kamala as president and appoint Liz Cheney as vice president, as they rattled off on CNN. Literally today. This is their new bright answer to getting a shellacking around the world. Why can't the noise of the people convince those that there is another way other than that way? Because the world doesn't want it. There is a turnaround in every election around. And the United States has just sent a warning glass to the world that Donald Trump's back in office, and those that have lost their lives will be remembered, celebrated, and acknowledged as they should. Again, today, I think they're all going to the tomb of the unknown soldiers, and they're going to lay wreaths. And I hope the schools that are there today in class and in session turn on the TV at 11 o'clock, at 11 minutes, and 11 seconds, and take a moment of silence. These kids got to know. David, I'm sorry.
No, there's no sorry. What you brought up is a really good point. The schools, unfortunately, we're not teaching them because we have teachers and educators and politicians who are this so-called anti-war. We're promoting war. We're not promoting war. There's bad and good. And we saw it historically that when evil gets a chance to rise, good must do something about it. And I think that I heard over the weekend, it was an apropos statement. There's a lot of evil out there. We see it in Iran, we see it in Russia, we see it in North Korea, we see it with terrorists, we see it. And unfortunately, the United States is the last of the strong beacons out there. Britain's not strong anymore. France is weak. Canada is weak. The idea of that woke politics has got in there, that we should not invest in our military because it just looks bad and we look like a warmongering nations. But evil doesn't go away. And we have a new evil in this world. And they're getting stronger. And why would we want the sacrifices made on this Veterans Day, Remembrance Day, Armistice Day, whatever you want to call it? Today should be a day where we should understand why they sacrificed themselves. Why today many of these veterans are living with physical ailments, psychological ailments, PTSD like you can't imagine. And there's, no financial ability for a lot of them. And yet, what do we do, Stuart, as a nation? We spit on them. We completely, denigrate them. We don't believe that what they've done was right. The lack of understanding because of the school system, because politicians have decided that woke politics makes more sense, and we're going to teach people that it's wrong. Of course, war is wrong. But words do not matter to the people who embrace evil. And we have to deal with that in our lifetime. And unfortunately, if we're not careful, those sacrifices made by the generations before us will have gone for naught.
David, I think we should just take a moment while we wrap up this broadcast. I guess it's a little after 11, but at noon, at 12:13:45. All right, guys, and that's a wrap for today's episode of Hughes Safe, lending your ears, eyes, and your time. It's been a real pleasure sharing this thought, as many others, in this discussion, as your support means the world to us. Please like us. Please follow us. Please subscribe. The holy grails of all the social media lights want to take away us from your feed because, frankly, we're just giving you something that the mainstream media just doesn't want you to know. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern, stay connected on social media, stay on our website. And as I said, grab us live every single week. David, your time is also invaluable to me. I want to say thank you for the 3.5 going on to 4 years at the beginning of this year. So, David?
Looking forward to continue this with Stuart. And to those who have served and those who have